Welcome back to Approved AF, the Mortgage Licensing Podcast, where we talk about what it really takes to grow your mortgage business without the chaos. Today, I'm joined by Randi Fechter, founder of Fechter Business Strategies, a bookkeeping and financial operations expert who has spent over 2 decades helping small business owners turn messy numbers into clear financial strategies. If you've ever waited till tax time to, quote, get your books together, then this episode is for you. We're diving into real numbers that drive your business forward and how to make sure that you're set up for long-term success. Let's jump in. Hi, Randi. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, Catalina, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. Can you please give our listeners a quick background on who you are and how you started working in bookkeeping?
So, my name is Randi Fechter, and I started 20 plus years ago doing bookkeeping for nonprofits, volunteering. I was a stay-at-home mom, so got really involved doing that. And then as the kids grew, my roles changed, and I continued to do bookkeeping, financing, and operations, mostly for small businesses. I saw how often, owners were struggling to make really informed decisions and didn't have that financial information to support it. And then I built my role with my business, Fechter Business Strategy Services, around that and teaching them how to turn messy numbers into clarity and strategy.
It is definitely a pain point for a lot of new business owners or even seasoned business owners who are trying to better understand their own books. What was it that drew you to targeting out specifically the business owners for that?
It was small business owners. A lot of times it was just a single owner trying to wear all of the hats, and doing the best that they could do with the bookkeeping, but they normally would pull me in when their books were a mess and they couldn't file their taxes. And then as I was doing that, seeing how messy the books were, bigger companies normally have some kind of financial department. So really the individual small owner, single owner are the ones that really benefit the most from my services.
Absolutely. And you've worked with people of all different types of industries, but for today's purpose, we're kind of narrowing that scope down to the mortgage industry. So for someone launching a new mortgage brokerage, what is the first thing that you would suggest they do to set themselves up financially?
Really, honestly, is setting up their own bank account for the business, because they really do need to keep the personal expenses separate from the business expenses. And it is very messy to do when you're using one bank account. And then the next thing, just to add on to that, the next thing would be to set up some kind of cloud-based bookkeeping software. Sometimes everybody's like, oh, I'll just do it through the bank or I'll do it through a spreadsheet. But the software really is the key to starting off right from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm. Is there one that kind of sticks out to you as being the most user-friendly?
Probably Wave.
Okay.
It's very user-friendly. It does have add-on features that you can add on to it to get more capability. And there's different tiers of service. It does have reporting, maybe not as robust as you will need as you grow, but Wave is probably a good one to start with. Unless you're using somebody that is going to do your bookkeeping, then I would say just go right into QuickBooks Online.
Excellent. And what are the most common mistakes that you see startups make when it comes to bookkeeping?
Probably waiting until tax time to clean up their books or to get their books in order. It's too late by then, and normally you're now in that spot where you're filing an extension, and it's a disadvantage to you because you could be in a position that you're going to get a refund, but unless you can actually file your taxes, you won't know that. So waiting until March or, beginning of April to try to get those books cleaned up or sending your reports to an accountant and then them coming back and saying, can't do it. It's such a mess. You need to get them cleaned up first. So
Yeah. It so that was going to be my question. When it comes to like bookkeeping, is it better to kind of just like reconcile and play catch up later, or is it good to do it from day one? But it sounds like we should start from day one. How soon would you say if we, didn't start from day one, that we would want to start talking to somebody or start looking at getting that in order before tax season?
as soon as possible. Right now is a great time. If you haven't done anything, like going into the end of the year is a great time to get yourself positioned, because if you can look at it now, then it gives, a bookkeeper such as myself the time to get it clean before the end of the year. And then you're already ready for next year. And you're also in a position to do any kind of, 1099s for contractors that may work with you. You've already got their information. And then you can roll into your tax return and, 2026 is ready to go.
Absolutely. We're all about proactive measures around here. In your experience, what are like the top 3 KPIs that every mortgage business should be tracking?
If I had to pick 3, I would say the first would be pull-through rate, which is the application to close, which is, the percent of loans that go from application all the way to funded. It's a bottom line impact KPI. When you're not tracking that, you're missing, like you're losing revenue. Like you don't know where that revenue is coming from. The second would be revenue per loan closed, which is the average earnings per transaction after fees and costs. That's a profitability baseline KPI. And then time to close is the average days from application to funding. So, there are others, but those would be the top 3. Like, I think there's another like 3 or 4 that would be good to track. But if you're only going to pick 3, those would be the 3 that I would say go for.
Definitely. And why is it important not just to, do the books, but to actually review those numbers and understand them on a regular basis?
So bookkeeping isn't just about compliance. It's about the direction that your business is going. If your financial reports are out of order, you don't know what your true revenue is, you don't know what your true expenses are, you have no idea what your profit is. And if you don't know what your profit is, you can't decide how, like, if you need to hire somebody, you don't know if you can afford to hire that person, or you hire somebody and realize you really can't afford that person. You can't make informed decisions without having your finances in order and getting a true month-end report that you can look at and trust that it's actually the facts of what your business is doing.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think a lot of people put it off because maybe it didn't feel like a strong month or hasn't felt like a great year. But, a feeling and actually knowing where you stand in the business helps you to make informed decisions for, next month, next year, and then you can plan accordingly. You can always shift and be nimble with it, but going over it monthly will help you better assess what the next steps are.
Absolutely.
How often should a broker or small company be taking those financial snapshots? Is it like an every Friday thing, quarterly? Once a year is fine.
Never. Once a year is probably not really the ideal. In the grand picture, yes, you do it once a year, but like if you're doing KPIs, like your conversion and your pull through, that would be weekly. Like, so there's different cadences depending on which KPI you're looking at, which metrics. But yeah, pipeline things you would be looking at weekly, say every Friday or every Monday, so that you know where you are with those, pull throughs. Financials would be monthly. At the end of the month, after the bank account, after you get your bank statement that's reconciled, that's when you would look at your P&L, your profit and loss report, and see where you are doing financially. And then quarterly is big picture strategy, whether your profitability, reinvestment decisions, that kind of thing.
And why do you think so many small business owners hesitate to outsource bookkeeping? Obviously, you have the added cost of outsource to that, but beyond that, why do you think so many people hesitate?
Honestly, I think some of it is losing control or feeling like they're losing control or thinking that somebody's going to be in their books and judging what they're doing and what they're spending money on. And bookkeepers don't do that. Bookkeepers are there as your partner in your business and want you to be successful. So there's not judgment there. And if there is, you've got the wrong bookkeeper. But
Is there any other reasons why somebody might hesitate on outsourcing and maybe why they should like reconsider that mindset shift?
um because it's not just about saving time, right? If they have somebody that they've outsourced the bookkeeping to, that frees up their time to focus more on what is growing the business, getting more clients, whatever that is. You're back into working on your business instead of in your business.
Absolutely. Um, what are the benefits to outsourcing versus dealing with it all yourself? We definitely have someone else's eyes on it so that it frees up your time to, do the things that you're good at. But on a more like professional level, what is that benefit of having an actual bookkeeper?
As we said, it saves time. It reduces your errors because you're having that expert that knows what they're doing and they're doing it for you.
Yes.
Again, puts those expert eyes that catch patterns that you may not be aware of. And then gives peace of mind. Your books are current and compliant and decision ready. Like you're ready to do whatever it is you want.
Oh, I love that decision ready. Instead of spending all that time trying to clean it up and understand it, all you're doing is outsourcing that, focusing on your business, and then looking at it to then make decisions for next whatever time period.
Exactly.
Oh, that's a good one. Can you share with us an example of a client who gained clarity, or maybe they avoided disaster because they had a professional like you supporting them?
Yeah, for sure. I had one client that thought they were like just killing it. They were doing their books. Their revenue was great. They had lots of deals coming in. And when we dug into the margins, they were paper thin. Like they had, yeah. We found duplicate software, underpriced files, missing expenses, and just cleaning up all of that saved thousands of dollars each quarter without them having to add a single new client.
Wow.
Yeah. It was one of the bigger ones that I found. I mean, but there are so many little things that people miss, but like software is one of them. Because everybody, you sign up for something and it just sort of sits there. And,
Yeah.
you just add more because oh, this one's great. Let's try that. But yeah, it is the easiest way to find ways to save money and keep more of it in your pocket than having to go increase sales or find new clients.
And it's just kind of like it's not even trimming the fat, it's just trimming off the excess that was completely unnecessary at that point. That's a really good find.
Yep.
And that one glance from you paid for its services, I'm sure, twice over.
Definitely, yes.
How does good bookkeeping actually help owners grow rather than just staying, status quo just to stay compliant?
So good bookkeeping isn't about just the past. Like when you look at financials, it shows the history, but knowing what the history is, it gives you that look into what the future can be. When you know where every dollar is going, you can then decide whether to hire or grow or invest, and then you can invest with confidence instead of guessing whether this is a good thing. The numbers reveal where the profit leaks out. And, it shows which marketing or referral partners actually generate return on investment. And it gives brokers confidence to hire or scale without guessing. So
I really like that, making sure you know where every dollar is going, because I personally use that motto in my personal budgeting. Um, and every dollar has a purpose. And as a business owner, making sure that you're being diligent with where every dollar is going to help you, stay good even when a month is lean.
Exactly.
For a business that's looking to reinvest into the business, who may be anticipating like bigger expenses in, say, like the next 6 to 12 months? I'm thinking mortgage companies that are looking at either expanding into a multi state project, or they're going to be gearing up for renewal seasons that'll happen annually at the end of every year. What changes, what would you suggest that they start to do in order to manage their finances?
Um, so if they know that they're looking to do some kind of big reinvestment, is to start looking at their cash flow now and figuring out what those big expenses may be. So instead of, waiting until that bill comes in, start setting aside some of that money so that it's not that, oh, where am I going to come up with that? Um, they can also set that aside like in a reserve for taxes. If you think that you are gonna gonna owe some taxes. Um, and then also, if bigger expenses are coming in, whether it's new hires or office or tech, you can adjust the pipeline goals now and decide, okay, well, I'm going to go for, X number more loans to close, or, renewals, and just being aware of what's coming in and what's going out, and then planning to set that money aside instead of spending it. But again, that goes back to the clean books to know how much money you actually have before you can figure out whether you can set it aside to save it to reinvest in something.
No, that's a very good point. So, for a mortgage professional who's listening to us today, who's most likely been avoiding their books, what is one thing that you would tell them to do today?
Um, Reconcile your account, pull your bank statement, reconcile your account, and then pull a profit and loss report if you're using bookkeeping software. And even if it's messy, just start looking at the story your numbers are telling. If you're that bottom line that says net loss or net income, if that's not what you're thinking that it is, then that's the first step to start looking at it.
And I know this wasn't one of like our questions that we had discussed, but I wanted to know from your opinion, for any of the mortgage professionals listening out there today, what are some questions or things that they should be looking for in a bookkeeper if they're going to be outsourcing that?
Um, they're gonna want to know if they have experience with whatever software they're using. Um, Most of the time, a bookkeeper that's experienced with QuickBooks, which is probably one of the more robust ones, they are able to adjust to use other software. You also want to make sure that they are going to come to you with questions on transactions. They're not just going to assume what a transaction is going to be.
Mhm.
You just want to make sure they have some experience. And that's really the big thing, is having the bookkeeper with that experience in different industries, not necessarily just with, in the mortgage industry, but, somebody that has multiple different industry experience can adjust more readily to whatever, services or what accounts you've got.
Yeah, that experience really does speak for itself, that because they've seen things across different fields, they might know something that they've seen somewhere else that can be applied in this situation.
Exactly. That's it. Yep.
Absolutely. And where can people connect with you if they want to learn more about your services or get advice on managing their bookkeeping?
So I do have a website. It's fbstrategy.net. I'm also on LinkedIn under Randi Fechter. And I have a snapshot strategy session that I can work. We could quickly review financials, do a quick, bookkeeping audit just to see where they're at. And then, if I'm the right person or not, I would make sure that they have the right person to work with or the right next steps.
That's awesome. Again, everybody who's listening, if you want to learn more about bookkeeping or, connecting with Randi, I'll leave her contact information in the show notes. So feel free to find her information there. Thank you so much, Randi. Really appreciate you talking with me today.
Thank you so much, Catalina. It was a pleasure.
A big thanks to Randi Fechter for joining me today and sharing such practical advice on financial clarity and bookkeeping for mortgage professionals. If this episode hit home, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who's building their brokerage the smart way. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at approvedaf_licensing for more behind-the-scenes insights, clips, and compliance tips. So until next time, stay licensed, stay compliant, and stay approved AF.